Hi and welcome to Happy Trails with Matthew. I'm Matthew, obviously. With each new video, I will talk you through the background of an interesting place somewhere in the world over a time-lapse of me painting it on Procreate. So just to be clear, this is not an art tutorial series. Occasionally I might choose to explain a little bit about the process, but there are lots of far more talented artists out there who are much better equipped to teach than I am. I just do this for fun. It's a way of combining my love of travel, local history and culture with my digital painting hobby. So with the housekeeping out of the way, it's time to get started. Where are we today? Well, presumably you've read the title, so you know exactly where we are today. It's the Swiss Cottage in Singleton Park, Swansea, South Wales. And just in case you were wondering, I am using a watercolour brush and I have added a canvas layer to the painting just so that it gives the texture of canvas and makes it look a little bit more real as opposed to something that's been created digitally. Now, at first glance, you could be forgiven for assuming that we're high in the Alps or meandering through the Black Forest. But no, I promise you, this really is Wales. The Swiss Cottage will be well known to anybody who has ever studied at Swansea University. And I hold my hands up there, I am guilty. There is a reason that I chose the Swiss Cottage as the first video to do. The cottage stands along the main footpath from the popular student areas of Bryn Mill and Uplands. It then cuts through Singleton Park, and it takes you to the back entrance to the campus, which is on the north side near Singleton Abbey. It's a journey that I and most of the Swansea students and alumni have done probably hundreds of times, come rain, snow or shine. And let's be honest, if you know Swansea, then you know that it's mostly going to be rain. Fun fact, the locals do have a saying: if you stand on Swansea Beach and you can't see the coast of Devon, that means it's raining. If you can see the coast of Devon, that means it's about to rain. So grab your raincoat. That said, on the sunny days, Swansea Bay and the Gower Peninsula are about as beautiful as you are likely to find any landscape. So yeah, definitely worth the visit, should you ever want to go down there. The Swiss Cottage was built in 1826, and in case you're wondering how we know that, it's because the date is right there, front and centre, directly underneath the main roof gable, accompanied by the French words Liberté et Patrie. Now, that means freedom and homeland, but you'll have to forgive me if that sounded terrible. I don't speak French, I have done my best. The Swiss Cottage was designed by Peter Frederick Robinson, who also designed nearby Sketty Hall and worked on Brighton Pavilion. Why did he build a Swiss chalet in Singleton Park? Well, I'm still not sure. Nearly 2 decades on from graduation, I still have never found a definitive reason. The nearest I can tell from scouring through all the records is that the Vivian family, who were very, very wealthy and owned the estate and an awful lot of other land in Swansea, had rather fancy, outlandish tastes, especially back in the 19th century. Swiss cottages were all the rage, and so they commissioned the building of one on their grounds. There are some other good examples of UK-based Swiss cottages. There's one in North London and another on the Isle of Wight, but the Swansea Cottage is actually the earliest of the 3. As for the Vivian family, well, that's a name that you will see everywhere in Swansea. There is a Vivian Street, there's a Vivian Gallery, there is a lecture theatre on the university campus named for the Vivians, and there are various halls which also bear the name Vivian. For example, there is one in Blackpill, which is along the main road that takes you down to Mumbles and Oystermouth. Now, you may have noticed that with the painting itself, I'm not being especially careful about where the colour goes. The reason being, I am using a watercolour brush, so I can't be as precise as I could be with, say, a pen or a pencil style. but also I tend to prefer to do the watercolour and then clean it up afterwards. So if we're talking really fine details, I'll use the eraser tool, but if it's a broader detail, I'll tend to blend it rather than just erase, and then it gives the impression of actual paintwork there. Using layers is also really helpful, although I try to keep the number of layers down, so I do combine them as I go. The Swiss Cottage is extremely striking and basically impossible to ignore. The colour is one part of that, the deep red, but also the bright blue and bright yellow. The front door isn't shown in this picture, but that is also bright yellow. There's also the location. The Swiss Cottage is directly next to the botanical gardens, and there is a large pond. There's also a large boating lake where in the summer you can hire your stereotypical swan and duck-shaped pedal boats and ride around the lake to your heart's content. The wide eaves, I am reliably informed, are wider than you would normally find on a Swiss cottage, reason being the roof is heavier than normal and they therefore need to support the weight. There's also a nice deep gable, and then if you drop your eyes down to the middle of the front, you'll see a message in German. Now, unlike French, I do speak German, so I can do a much better job of reading this to you. Leb so dass du wieder leben magst, which translates to live so that you may live again. How you interpret this is up to you. For me, I like to look at it as a positive message, effectively just saying go out and live life to the full. Just take every chance, take every opportunity. There is a little more German above the door, Grüß Gott, which is an informal way of saying hello. Now, from memory, I believe this is more common in Swiss German than it is in the standard Hochdeutsch. However, if there are any German speakers who happen to be listening, please do tell me if I'm wrong. During its lifetime, the Swiss cottage has had several different purposes. Back in the 1820s, when it was recently built, it served as a dame school, whatever that means. I'm assuming a school for young ladies, but maybe not the nicest name for it. Whilst I was a student in Swansea, there was a small tuck shop there, which sold ice cream and cold drinks in the summer months. Sadly, the Swiss cottage has been empty now for many years, and although it's still beautiful on the outside, the inside is very neglected. There's basically no flooring, the stone interior is completely blank, peeling and crumbling, but there is hope. In June or July 2023, a new lease was agreed on a 15-year contract, and the new leaseholder claims to have very big plans for the Swiss cottage. I will be watching for the reveal with great interest, and hopefully it won't be long before I'm back down there to see it for myself. So there you have it, the Swiss cottage in Swansea. Any questions, please do shout them out, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you next time on Happy Trails.